having the experience of connecting to what I would call the divine or God as a child, I've often been curious to sort of, you might say, pay attention to when do we lose this? And what's missing in our culture that people become embarrassed about talking about God or awkward exploring the nature of consciousness or energy in this world. And so I've turned my attention towards other cultures. I've spent a lot of time in indigenous cultures, in Native American communities, in traditional African communities, in other places, in the Amazon and the outback of Australia. And one thing that I see that these traditions have very strongly in place that seems to hold a space for the experience of the divine is a kind of celebration of what I would call the imaginal reality. That creativity and mythic thinking is not only tolerated but celebrated. And so one of the challenges that happens for us is that while rational thinking is important, while logic is critical, while being able to label and name and measure things is beautiful and very, very useful in this world, there is a kind of contraindication at work. See, if God or the divine or whatever you want to call it, spirit, is infinite and eternal, then the minute we start to label it and say it shines favorably on us in this place of worship but not on them, or if you do this wrong, it will turn its back on you, we start to impose a very limited concept of what that divine spirit is. We start to, in fact, tell people how they should experience it. And if they feel their experience doesn't match it, they get frustrated, they get angry, they get disenchanted, and they either go numb and stay in that process or community, or they reject it completely. But they're left without the tools to reconnect, right? Because they've already stepped into the culture that says if it has a label or a face or a number or a code, it's real. And so what we see in these other cultures is this willingness to celebrate the very fact that we can think through our bodies. We can think through our art. We can think and know things just by walking out in nature. We don't have to be told anything. And the way it comes to us has its own implicit value. In fact, what I've experienced with teachers in Eastern cultures and indigenous cultures is they're constantly trying to get me and other people out of our heads. And that doesn't mean forever, but it means that if we want to open to something greater than us, we need to learn to think and perceive with something else. Some people call it the heart. Some people call it the soul. It doesn't matter to me what you call it, but there's another way of knowing that seems embedded in these cultures. And I think one of the things in our beautiful, wonderful culture in the West is that we lose that. Because in our educational system and in our homes and our society, we celebrate a different kind of way of knowing. Not worse than, not better than, but a different one. One that comes at a cost.